So, my work kind of comes like accidentally out of the root of there not being a lot of like colorful male pinup in the art world that I've seen. Whenever you think of like pinup, you think of like these like beautifully colored like women in like like a martini glass and like all these like bright like pinks and greens and oranges, and they really don't have that for men in kind of this like fun cheeky way. A lot of like the male more like quote unquote erotica that you see is kind of in like that Tom of Finland like graphic charcoal black and white style with a little bit of humor but not in that like playful way. And so it kind of just happened that I liked to draw in a really colorful way. And obviously, like the male physique is something that I could possibly be interested in. And so it was kind of that mashup of it kind of just fell into this really colorful pinup queer little moment. And then it's kind of been what I've been doing for the last little bit. I enjoy creating erotic or like sensual art, just because it's obviously like a important part of like everyday life. Like I think like to be sex positive is a pretty important thing in society. But there's also different types of like sex positivity. Speaking of Tom of Finland before, he has this quote that is I'm obviously going to butcher it and mangle it, but it's essentially it's saying that there's something even sexier about a fully clothed man than one who is completely naked. And I work in fashion, and so obviously I think of that as very true. I want people to wear clothes, but also look really sexy. And so the pinup world kind of fit into that because it's like the seen and unseen is basically the whole world of pinup. And so yeah, that's kind of really, really the gist of that. For my illustrations, I tend to use just Procreate on like an iPad and then put it into Adobe Illustrator to create a pattern. Because all of my work is pattern based. Having started in fashion, my graphics had always either been like standalone graphics or put into like a graphic repeat to put onto fabric, which I also do on my own time. And so being able to put it digitally into Adobe Illustrator, created into a pattern, just makes the art a bit more flexible in what I'm able to do with it. And then sometimes if I really want that like hand-drawn feel, I'll grab a pen and paper and then scan it in and then treat it just like a vectorized drawing that way. That's a really fun question. I mean, living in the apparel space, I would love to collaborate with any kind of colorful fashion brand. It's kind of hard to think of one right now that is doing something that I would fit into. So I would probably I'm kind of more in the realm of either collaborating really intensely with like a small indie brand to kind of create something together, or to maybe make my artwork a bit more mass market and go with like a larger brand. The real thing right now is figuring out how queer artists can collab with big brands outside of Pride Month, which is where I've found most of my success in collaborations. They've been beautiful collaborations. I love working with them, and I have a few more coming up. But I think it's really important that as queer artists, we are able to have work outside the month of June because we live outside of the month of June. So really any sort of brand that's willing to sort of not quote unquote take a risk, but kind of step out of the traditional norm of exiling queer designers to Pride and just realizing that we're artists at our nature. those are the kind of brands that I'd be passionate about working with. I'm pretty passionate about the idea of like build it and they will come. And so the more eyes you can get on it, the better. I will say that through online, it's been a little difficult to figure out what is acceptable, quote unquote, with the algorithm, because unfortunately, in the modern age, the algorithm is what can make or break an artist in terms of visibility, and the algorithm is not super friendly to primarily queer content, especially ones that are maybe a little more suggestive in nature. And so the consciousnness I have with that is trying to figure out, one, I have to figure out if I care about the algorithm. Two, I have to figure out that if I don't care about the algorithm, how do I get my art out there? And so it's a mix of putting it out in, online, but then additionally doing like art fairs or collaborating with art collectives that are a bit more queer, or showcasing at certain festivals that are centered around queer art, because my audience is there, but to kind of grow a more vast audience, I do have to be kind of aware of the algorithm. So kind of towing that line of figuring out how to navigate that has truly been a bit of a challenge, but you know, we're kind of all learning together. What I wish for my work is that it brings kind of joy to people. I know it's a bit cliche, but I just remember growing up and wanting to see the artwork I was creating and have it accessible to me to either purchase, to look at, to either like look at under my covers, or when I got older to buy and put it on my wall. And I'm really hoping that I'm able to be that for someone who just wants fun, colorful, kind of tongue-in-cheek queer art. And luckily, I've gotten some feedback that is the case. So hoping to kind of just grow that. And anytime I'm at like a fair or a festival and people are looking through my prints and smiling and laughing and saying, oh my God, I've always wanted this. That's kind of like the best feedback. So kind of just to grow that is kind of the end goal here. I sell prints, greeting cards, stickers, and gift wrap on my store, which is adamdaltonblake.shop. I also have my website, which features those patterns that I've created into collections, and you can see all my like commercial work at adamdaltonblake.com. So you got .com and .shop, and then my Instagram is just at adamdblake. And if you want to support, hey, get a print, get a card. But if you don't want to spend the money, just give me a follow on Instagram, because as we know, in order to get these opportunities to collaborate with these larger brands to gain visibility, we have to have the numbers behind it. So feel free to give a little follow. Famously, we love a follow. And so, yeah, come over. It's a real fun party on Instagram. A year ago, last November, I started a thing that I've been doing called #pattern_party, where every day I've been posting a pattern, and we're coming up on a year. So obviously we missed some days here and there because, you know, life happens, but we're approaching about like over 300 patterns that I've produced, all the voices in my head have produced in the last year. So there's a lot of content there. Feel free to swipe through and give it a like, and hopefully I'll be able to continue it on in the future.